Welcome to the Femme Fatal, a true crime podcast with an astrology twist. I'm your host, Stacey Dotson. Each week, I'll be joined by a guest host because this Femme Fatal prefers not to work alone. Welcome to the Femme Fatal. Today, I'm joined by Brian.
Hi, how are you doing?
He's going to talk about the Sadist Socialite, Delphine LaLaurie. Is that how I say it? Delphine?
Marine Delphine LaLaurie.
Thank you.
Yep. Commonly called Madame LaLaurie.
Madame LaLaurie?
Yeah.
Okay. What made you want to talk about her?
First of all, she's just an interesting person. There's a lot of historical relevance. To back up, the reason why I know anything about her, wife and I, we got married in 2002. We're old. So at the time, we're broke students. We had no money. So we decided to go on our honeymoon. We went to New Orleans. Two things I absolutely love, history and architecture. So going to New Orleans made sense. And so we're walking around the French Quarter and we found that there was a ghost tour. So my third passion, if there's anything creepy or, like I love all those things. So we go and we do this ghost tour. And we're walking around and we get to this one house on Royal Street and they're telling us the history of it and stuff. And I was like, I've got to learn a lot more about this because this person just sounds like there's some, backstory to this. So, you go on one of these tours, you hear things like this, it's like there's probably some embellishment to this story.
Yeah.
But there's obviously got to be some truth to this, right?
Right.
But apparently it's one of the most haunted places in New Orleans. So that immediately piqued my interest. And I was like, oh, no, I got to find out more about this. So when I heard that you were doing this podcast,
yes,
I came to you and I was like, hey.
Yes.
If I can, this is the person I'd love to do. And you're like, yep, let's do this.
Put it on the schedule. Yep. That's a great explanation as to why. So let's dive in.
Okay. So Marie Delphine LaLaurie, she was born in 1787 and she died in 1849. So why is she important? What do we need to know about her? Things like that. So she was a wealthy New Orleans socialite. She grew up in like the high society. Her parents were high society and all that stuff. Unfortunately, what she's known for is how she treated enslaved people that lived with her. So, not a great backstory to this person.
That is a terrible story that you're about to get into, but it's horrible.
So, let's see. She was born Marie Delphine McCarty on March 19th, 1787 in New Orleans. So, at the time, New Orleans was part of Spanish Louisiana, but she was born to a very prominent Creole family. Family had a lot of wealth, things like this. Her dad was Louis Bartholomew de McCarty. Wealthy plantation owner, but before that, he was a military guy. Did a lot of things with the military. So prominent family, but he was also a wholesaler. He was known for shipping things up and down the Mississippi. That's where he made his money. But he purchased land back in 1787. He had additional land grants in 1795. So as we're getting into this story, I just want you to keep things in mind.
Okay.
Like, where do these patterns of behavior begin? I've got a psychology background. Yeah. So that's where learning
I had no idea about that.
Yeah. That's my master's degree is in industrial organizational psychology, not clinical, but psychology is my thing.
Okay.
But all along here, learning more about her is like, oh, maybe some of these things were learned patterns behavior. Yeah. Triggers. So he was a wholesale merchant. He bought some land, sold some land. He was known for having a very large estate. But like most of the wealthy landowners at the time, how does he get labor?
Yeah. Slave labor.
Yeah. He had enslaved people living on his land, right? So, we'll come to find out she did not treat her enslaved people very well. Was this a learned pattern behavior? Also, as you well may know, there was quite a bit of information to find out about Dad, but Mom, there's not a whole lot. She came from a prominent Creole family. There probably is out there. And again, when I was doing my research, I tried focusing on things that were easily vetted. There's a lot of history and folklore, and I love folklore. Give me a good horror story. Give me a good scary story.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. But, what's real, what's not real. But unfortunately, there's not just a whole lot that I could find about Mom.
Was she an only child?
Honestly, not off the top of my head. I don't know that.
Okay.
So family originally came from Ireland around 1730s, but she had powerful family. Her uncle, Esteban Rodriguez Miro, he was a governor of Spanish Louisiana and Florida. So cousin Augustin de McCarty, he later became mayor of New Orleans from 1815 to 1820. So, setting a little backstory, she comes from prominence. She comes from high society. She comes from power. She comes from privilege. There's another few things that will come along. Talking about something else with a friend, and it was like history. Basically time is just a gigantic circle. things that we see in modern society.
Yeah.
People that get away with things that should not get away with things.
It's happening again. I mean, it was always happening, but it's a lot more in the forefront right now.
It's almost as if we never learned from our mistakes. Huh?
No. Yeah.
All right. All right. Okay. Obviously, she grew up in high society. So she grew up around enslaved labor. She grew up around this. So part of my question is the way she treated people, was this patterns of behavior that she observed throughout her life? But we also have to think, let's make sure that we're putting things in contextual time.
Okay.
Right. So what you and I know as this is okay, this is not okay, things were different then. That's not saying that
it's right.
It was right, but these were acceptable practices.
Right.
Correct?
In the South specifically.
Correct. So as we know, the French colonies, especially Louisiana, a lot of the enslaved labor came from like Haiti and places like that. So what were some of the things that were going on around that period of time? In 1791, there was a Haitian Revolution. So terrified slave-owning societies throughout the Caribbean and American South. There was a massive uprising of enslaved people fighting against their slave owners and stuff.
Right.
So obviously that's going to be some tension. In 1811, there were slave revolts that started in Louisiana, including the German Coast Uprising. So obviously amongst the people that have enslaved people working on their plantations, you've got all these things going on. So those people are doing those things, and we can't allow those people to do those things.
Right.
How do you keep people under control?
Oppression and violence.
Oppression and violence. Right. Okay. A few things to keep in your head as we start going a little bit farther down this story. What else do we know about her?
So from what I understand, this was her third husband? I'm jumping ahead. So she was married several times.
Let's start with husband number one. Let's start with that. Okay. She was born in 1787. She was first married in 1800.
13. Wow.
Remember what we just said?
Yes.
Just because it happened doesn't mean that it was right.
Correct.
But these are acceptable practices.
At that time, yes.
Right. He was older than her, but not much older. I don't remember exactly how old he was, but so she was only 13. Have you ever been around a 13-year-old?
Yes.
I couldn't imagine, being like, I'm going to take this 13-year-old child and marry them.
Yeah, as my bride. Is this fathers selling off their daughters, if you will, for lack of a better term, is that being practiced at this time? Dowries and all that stuff?
More than likely. More than likely it's that kind of situation because the first husband, again, I'm going to mess up every name that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
But Don Ramon de Lopez Angulo.
No.
So,
what's G? Anyway.
So Spanish royal officer. Dad was in the military. High-ranking military official. So he marries off his daughter to this guy when she is 13 years old. 1804, he gets a good gig. He gets this job. He's going to be a Spanish consul general.
Yes.
So they decide, let's pack up, let's leave New Orleans, and we're going to head to Spain. So they pack up. Now, keep in mind, this is obviously before steamships. So we don't have anything like that. So they're probably getting on a boat. They're not getting on an airplane or anything.
Right.
So they're going to make their way to Spain, but they end up going by the way of Cuba.
Okay.
So they start heading towards Spain. They stop off in Cuba. They've been married for 4 years. He suddenly dies in Havana. First husband dies in Havana. As far as the history books can factually tell us, there's no foul play or anything that happens here. But at this point, she's 18 years old? First husband passes. But shortly thereafter, she gave birth to her first daughter.
Okay, so he was the father of her first daughter.
Correct.
And she's given birth at 17-ish.
Right.
Okay.
Right. She returns back to New Orleans because he was a very wealthy man. So she inherits the wealth.
Nice.
So she moves back to New Orleans. She has the wealth from first husband. She's now 17, 18 years old.
Right.
She has a young child.
Single mom.
But she comes back with money. So second husband, Jean Blanc.
Okay.
She marries him in 1808. At this point, she's 21 years old. Still young,
Right.
More appropriate marrying age.
More appropriate age marrying,
that's a whole different thing. So married in 1808, they ended up buying a house together at 409 Royal Street in NOLA, which, by the way, it's right down the street from the house that we'll eventually talk about.
Okay.
Which, if you're looking on Zillow, it is currently for sale. The last time I looked at it.
Wait, it is for sale?
Yeah, it was like $4 million or something insane. So
yeah.
This is her starter home.
This is her starter home.
Look it up on Zillow. This is her starter house. She and second husband, Jean Blanc, they get married in 1808. They buy a home at 409 Royal Street, which is also, it's a beautiful place. I don't know if you like that Spanish colonial French Creole.
I love all the architecture
my
in New
gosh.
Orleans. It's amazing.
I'd say go to the French Quarter during the day, grab you a drink, walk around, look at sights. Once the sun starts going down, get out of there. It's not nearly as fun, but that's a different story.
Not anymore, yes.
So Jean Blanc, he is a banker, lawyer, merchant, legislator, and slave trader.
She's got elite taste.
So he was known for participating no less than 335 slave transfers over 13 years.
From what I've heard, slaves were purchased and they would go for like $1,000 to $1,500, which is like several $100,000 today.
Right. The crazy thing is he never owned a plantation.
Okay.
You don't actually own a plantation, but you have over 335 that we know of that can be factually documented. He has transferred, basically bought and sold, over 335 people over the course of 13 years. He doesn't have a plantation.
So he's a slave trafficker.
We're catching on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, by the way, this part is highly frowned upon. Now, it's okay to have them.
Yeah.
It's okay, like if you need a cup of sugar, come over to my house, I'll give you a cup of sugar, right?
Right.
That'd be like if I sell you a dime bag of weed.
Yeah.
We can still go to church together. It's fine. It's okay. Meet me out in the parking lot,
Yeah.
But if you hear that I'm dragging kilos of cocaine across the border from Mexico, I'm probably not going to be invited back to Bible study on Sunday, right?
Exactly.
So it's funny that some of these practices are completely acceptable. Marrying a 13-year-old is acceptable. Owning people is acceptable. But you're buying and selling all these people and you don't have land for it. No,
that's not acceptable.
It's not illegal, but it's frowned upon.
Yes.
In high society. So.
Yes.
So anyways, obviously he's politically influential and financially successful. So he's a very well-known guy. People know him. People probably like him that get something from him, that he, benefit from him. Does that sound?
Yeah, I get it.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Am I driving that point? Okay.
Yes, you are driving it home.
So they had 4 children together. I tried looking these names up because it just seems a little bit odd that we have Marie-Louise Pauline, Louise Marie LaLaurie, Marie-Louise Janae, and then Jean-Pierre Pauline Blanc. Apparently, from everything that I could see, that this relationship was successful. They seem to be a good couple. They seem to be happy, healthy together and everything. It does still make you wonder because they had enslaved people. Were there things going on at this point? But we don't know. There's no indications that there was any shenanigans happen at this point in her life.
Yeah, 335.
Right.
That is a lot.
Right. But also, if he is making these transactions, I'm just going to step out on a limb here and even say by those days' standards, he's not a good dude.
Oh, of course not.
All right. Okay. This is me asserting my opinion into something where it probably doesn't belong. But, I'm just going to say that.
That's what this show's about.
All right. Okay. So we don't know exactly what happened, but Blanc died in 1816. So this is husband number 2, second time she's been widowed. But again, this guy was more wealthy and more powerful and more influential than husband number 1. So she's just rolling in the dough.
Yeah.
Right?
She marries smart.
Correct. So
they leave her young and rich.
Right. So now she's got money, she's got land, and she's got her own cache of enslaved people.
Right. And the starter home.
So he passes. She moves on. So third husband comes along. Now, in between second husband and third husband, there's a little stretch of time. So by this time, she's probably thinking, look, I've done this twice.
Yeah.
I've got money. I've got power. I don't have to work. I'm just going to be a girl out on the town. Me and the besties, we're just going to go hang out. We're going to go
in the quarter.
Yeah, we're just going to go. Right. We're just going to walk around, have some fun together. I don't need no man. I'm just going to do my own thing. Right. Third husband comes along. Now she marries him June 25th, 1825. By this time, she's 38 years old.
Okay.
So she's a made woman. She's got her own money. She's got her own status. She's got her own power. But also keep in mind, this is a place and time where women didn't have status and power.
And rights.
Yeah. Correct. But what does she own? What does she have?
Well, money and slaves.
Right. And land. She has all the things that all the rich white dudes have. So inherently, she's got power. Probably not nearly as much in the eyes of everybody else, but this is what she has. So she marries third husband, Dr. Leonard Louis Nicholas LaLaurie. They get married on June 25th, 1825. Now, he's a French physician, and he's 15 younger than she is.
15 years younger?
She went for a younger man.
Hey.
She was like, hey, it's my time.
He wanted a sugar mama.
Exactly. He's a physician. He comes into it with his own money, but he's probably looking at her going, hey, she's got the dough.
Right.
But this marriage was contentious. They did not get along well, it appears, right? So they're married in 1825. Just a few years later, in 1832, she petitioned the court for legal separation. She decides she's not going to be with this guy anymore. She says he treats me badly. So basically, this is what's the modern equivalent? Irreconcilable differences.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
Despite the conflict, he still lives there off and on. Now, we'll get to it in a little bit more detail, but there are indications that he never truly lived full time at the house. He would leave and he would go stay with other people.
Right.
We don't know who. I would love to venture a guess here. Anyways.
Oh, she's a beard.
Yeah.
I just got that when you said that. Okay.
Yeah.
She's a beard.
Me and the buddies are going to go play golf this weekend.
Yes.
And you could stay here by yourself, right?
Right.
I can't prove anything. I'm just curious. So anyways, 1832, they petition for a separation. Things aren't going so well. He doesn't live there full time at the house.
Yeah.
So we're going to fast forward. This is where things really started going downhill.
Wait, did you say already? Did they buy the house together or did he already own the house?
Oh, I'm sorry. By this time, they had bought the house. She actually built the house.
Okay.
She built the house.
She built the house when she was living her own life thinking she's going to be
Correct. Right. So the house was 1140 Royal Street in the French Quarter. They're both on Royal Street.
Okay.
So they're not too far apart from each other. Which, by the way, if you go, the house is absolutely phenomenal. Parts of the main structure are still there, but it's a private residence now, and it's absolutely amazing to see. The house was completed in 1832. So about the time that they're getting separated. And stuff, the house is completed. Let's recap everything that's going on. She gets married. Husband number one dies on the way to his new job. She comes home, meets other guy. They build a house together. They live in this house together. He tragically passes. He owns a whole bunch of enslaved people. I'm just going to venture a guess that he's not treating these people fairly. She meets husband number three. And while she's meeting husband number three, she's a woman out on the town.
Yes.
She's just doing her own thing, living her own life. She's a socialite. She's throwing all these big parties. She's the Paris Hilton of her day.
Yes.
Right? You know, she's just out there going to the clubs, dancing, doing all those things, having a great time, right? So 1831, she buys the property at 1140 Royal Street.
Okay.
Builds this massive house. It's completed in 1832. So from the outside, you look at it, it's just absolute refinement. Just the architecture to it. However, on the inside, not a lot of great things were happening. The people that would go there, they would say that, yes, she had her enslaved people, but they looked haggard, tired. They looked worn down. Some of them looked like they had been physically abused.
They built the house while they were married. Once the house was built in 1832, the same year they applied for separation?
Correct.
Okay.
Historians have said that he never lived there full time. There were some things that said that he never really lived there at all. They basically lived separate lives, and that's going to come into play here in a little bit.
Okay.
So her enslaved people, the people that were actually,
working in the home.
Right. They were not living a good life. Let's leave it at that.
Right.
And there were multiple accounts of people be walking by at night and you could hear screams from the courtyard.
Okay.
So there was obviously signs of things going awry inside the house
that people just ignored.
Right. So all along, there were signs of abuse. So people noticed, people heard things. So there were a lot of indications that obviously she was doing a lot of bad things. So here's one of the first main events that really tips off authorities that things are not good. Madame LaLaurie, she's upstairs, and one of her young enslaved women is brushing her hair. Now, either the comb slipped or something, but it snagged her hair.
Okay.
And so the enslaved girl's name is Leah. She pulls her hair, more than likely unintentional. Madame LaLaurie snaps at her.
Yeah.
Starts chasing her. So the girl, why would she run? Why would she be so scared? This is obviously an accident, right?
Yes.
Why would somebody be instantly that scared, afraid that I'm going to die?
Yeah. Because you know who she is.
Correct. So without thinking, she just runs straight up to the roof. LaLaurie is chasing her with a whip across the roof.
Okay.
There are multiple accounts, multiple different reports of how the story ends. This story either ends with the girl saying that she's already recognized her fate and she knows that if she stays,
she's going to be tortured. Yeah.
So she chooses to jump.
Ah.
Or, I don't know if this is more gruesome, but the other accounts are that Madame LaLaurie caught her and actually pushed her off the roof of the house. Either way, the story ends the same. Obviously, this is something you cannot hide. What happens behind closed doors, who knows, right? You know, you could be a good person in your church group, you know, to your coworkers, to the people at the grocery store, but you may treat your family terrible once you get inside those closed doors, right? This is something you can't hide.
Right. And so when she fell off, she fell in the front?
Right out into the street.
Right out into the street.
Right out into the street. And this is one of the main key highlights of if you do the ghost tour in New Orleans, which I'm not trying to sell a New Orleans package, but if you go, it's a great tour.
I would love to do that.
It's so much fun.
I did the Jack the Ripper tour in London and I just loved it. It was so amazing. And the weather was perfect. It was
nice,
foggy and misty. So
that's like perfect for that too, right?
It was.
Right. Obviously, this is not one that you can hide because Leah is dead on the ground. And more than likely, it's at the front of the house. And, you know, this is Royal Street. You know, now, obviously, there's cars going up and down the street. But at the time, there's got to be horse and buggies and people walking. So you're going to notice a dead girl in the street. So authorities, they do investigate. Delphine was found guilty of cruelty. So her punishment, she had to forfeit some of her enslaved people.
That's it.
That's it. So does this sound familiar whatsoever? Maybe not the exact circumstances, but she has to forfeit her enslaved people. So she's like, okay, fine. I'll give those up. Hey, I have these enslaved people.
Yeah.
Would you like to purchase some enslaved people? Because I've got to give them up, right? So who does she sell them to?
Her family and friends, right? Am I right?
100%. Let me cut you a sweetheart deal.
Yeah.
Right? Boy, do I have a deal for you. So her friends and family purchase these enslaved people.
But where does the money go? Because her punishment was to forfeit, but she gets to profit off her punishment?
Oh my God, this is terrible. But if you think about, let's say you've got a barn full of cars, right?
Okay.
And you go down on drug charges or whatever, police auction that stuff off, right?
Right.
So more than likely you say, hey, by the way, there's a police auction, go buy my Ferrari, go buy my car, go buy this. And then your loved one says, okay, cool, here you go. I'm going to bring it right back to you.
Wow.
I can't even imagine these enslaved people. Well, first of all, there's no way in the world I can imagine the life that they had to live in the best of conditions.
Right.
But you live in the worst of conditions.
Yes.
You're now told that you have a chance of being out from underneath this house. You're going to go somewhere else and you're just going, please be better.
Yeah.
You get sold only to find out you're going right back where you came from.
Ugh, God. Ugh.
So this culminates to 1834. On April the 10th, 1834, fire breaks out at a house. Now, the details of what exactly happened and why are very sketchy. But fire breaks out in the house. So, you know, you think of a modern day, you know, police, ambulance, fire response shows up to your house. Similar, but the fire brigade shows up to the house and they're going inside the house and they find that there is a 70-year-old enslaved woman attached to the stove.
Wow.
She is permanently attached to the stove. She set the house on fire. How bad were your living conditions that you're like, I would much rather die by a fire? Right.
So she used the stove to set the house on fire.
She used the stove to set the house on fire.
So she was permanently chained to that stove. Oh,
this is her living conditions. She's attached to a stove and she's looking around at her surroundings and she knows that there's other enslaved people in this house.
Yeah.
And she makes the decision, and I will never fault somebody for a decision that they have to make. But how bad was her life that she thought me doing this and affecting everybody else that's inside this house is better.
Yeah. They would all rather go out in a fire than continue to be with her.
Correct. So initially she survived the fire.
Wait, initially she survived the fire.
I mean, she ends up succumbing to her injuries. I couldn't find if there were did anybody speak to her or whatever. There's no real written record of that. That was another thing I was thinking. It's like, more than likely she's a person of faith. I'm assuming here, but historically speaking, more than likely she's a person of faith. I just could imagine you look up and you're like, okay, please forgive me. This is what I got to do,
right?
You know, to get out of this. Anything that you give me is going to be better than what I'm living in currently. You go through all that. Could you imagine if she opened her eyes and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm still here?
Yeah.
I'm hoping that didn't happen, that,
Right.
hopefully she passed peacefully. Not everybody that was involved in the fire ended up dying.
How badly was the house burned?
It was a large percentage of the house.
Okay.
Large percentage of the house was consumed. Because, again, think about it. We don't have modern high-pressure fire nozzles and hoses and stuff. So,
yeah.
But the fire broke out. Neighbors said the firefighters, they forced their way in, of course, naturally, as they would. They went up into the attic. And what they found in the attic was just absolutely grotesque and gruesome. There are people that are chained to the walls. There are people that have obviously suffered very, very physical violence. There are obvious signs of torture, potential mutilation, and all sorts of stuff. Now, this is where I would prefer to venture away from the lore, because if you go down the path of the lore, there's a lot of extremely grotesque, murder porn stuff.
Yeah.
I personally don't like that. That is not appealing to me. Just knowing that any human being was chained to a wall and was severely tortured is
bad enough.
That's gruesome enough, right?
Yeah.
So fire breaks out. Neighbors find out. They end up rescuing people out of the attic. What they find out obviously shocked everybody because, you think, oh, this is my neighbor. This is happening right down the street from me, right? So the New Orleans Bee, they talk about it. Several enslaved people that were alive, but in horrific condition. But again, chained to the wall, chained to the ceiling, emaciated. They're being starved, covered from head to toe in wounds. Just extreme, inhumane, right?
Horrible.
Right. But also some of the people were, barely able to walk. Two of the rescued victims later died from their injuries, unfortunately. But also bodies were found buried in the courtyard. So this is not related to the fire.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. So I believe
the fire is what opened the door for everyone to see what was going on.
Correct. And if you've been to New Orleans, you'll know that, especially these big, massive houses, we have fences behind our house, right?
Yes.
So basically it's kind of a similar concept, but they have courtyards. But none of the courtyards are that massive. One report said that there were up to 12 people that were, including a child, buried out the back in the courtyard. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I know.
Heavy.
It's like, do we need a minute to sit with this?
That's super heavy.
Right.
Okay.
Here's where, if you're not angry, you're going to get angry.
If I'm not angry enough already.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, here's people, enslaved people, found in horrific conditions. We found people in the courtyard. We found all sorts of tragedy happening all around us, right? The mob comes along, and of course, everybody's upset because, again, it's okay to own somebody, but there's still, I'm doing the air quotes here, there's still ethical treatment of your enslaved people, right? So they're not okay with what she did or how she behaved. So they all want to go and storm the house. Obviously, I'm assuming we want a little street justice, right? If she's not going to be taken in, the police aren't going to, they're going to drag their feet, put her up in a Club Med jail for a while. We ain't having that. So what does she do? Skips town. Now, obviously, she doesn't have a cell phone, but I just see her going to anybody that she knows that cares about her whatsoever. Hey, I need your help. I need to get out of town, right? So she finds somebody, takes her by a carriage to the waterfront, hops on a boat, goes to Mobile, Alabama. Nobody knows what's going on. She's got safe passage, gets to Mobile, Alabama. From Alabama, she hops on a boat and goes to Paris, France.
That's where she lives out her days.
And that's where she lives out the rest of her life.
That is just
enraging.
You're right. It's enraging.
Right?
You're just like, it's one of those things. I'm not trying to get religious or whatever, but like, it's one of those things where you're like, please let there be a hell.
Exactly. It's like, where's the justice in this?
Right.
So she does all these unspeakable acts. Now, I don't know necessarily that she was in the house at the time. I'm assuming that she was in the house.
Okay.
Maybe she saw the fire and she got out, she escaped, she ran. I don't know. There's so many questions that I have. I'm like, was there a public search for her? Did the police go looking for her? Did they go to husband's and wherever he was staying at the time?
Yeah. Did he go with her?
No. At the time, Dr. LaLaurie, he wasn't at the house.
Okay.
Eventually, the police go to talk to him. Hey, where were you on the night of? Right. And he's like, oh, hey, I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I was over here with my boyfriend. I mean, with my friend.
My friend.
I was at my friend's house. We were watching the Golf Channel and not doing other things. He says that he wasn't there. I didn't live there. I know nothing.
Right.
You know, oh my gosh, she was doing what? Oh my goodness, what happened? Right. But there's
it's a little heated rivalry
right
there.
Right. But there's also stories. There's also accounts that he knew exactly what was going on. He was talking to her about how she was treating the enslaved people, saying, hey, you cannot be doing this. You cannot be treating people this way.
Yeah.
And basically, she looks at him and says, you need to get out or you're going to be buried out in the courtyard with them.
Wow.
So, you know, being the big, strong, tough man he is, he's like, later, I'm just going to do so. I'm going to head right on out. Right. So guess what? No charges ever
against
brought up
him. God.
No.
Oh, it's terrible. Keep going. Sorry.
So if you're keeping score at home, here are 12 dead bodies in the backyard. Here are enslaved people that are in the attic, some alive, some not, all very, very rough shape.
Yes.
Here's a woman that set herself on fire attached to the stove. There's a lot of crime that's happened.
That is a lot.
Not to mention Leah,
right,
who jumped off the roof.
Right.
Not one person who is responsible serves justice for it.
At all.
At all. Are you mad yet?
I'm mad since the first thing. Since the hairbrush.
Right. Dr. LaLaurie, he stays. His reputation is ruined.
Yes.
Oh. So there are reports that he never officially practiced again. He can't live in high society anymore. Basically, he's being ostracized from high society.
Court of public opinion. Yeah.
Court of public opinion got to him. And so he couldn't work and he lost all of his friends. So Delphine LaLaurie, she dies on December 7th, 1849. She dies in Paris, France. So there's some debate there. I saw some accounts that she came back to New Orleans or she wanted to come back to New Orleans. There's one story that she did write her son and said, basically, hey, love you, miss you. I'm going to come see you soon. But there's no doc records or anything of her officially coming back. Had she would have had to come back under a assumed alias. I would assume that if you're walking around town, somebody would recognize you.
Yeah.
Right. So, but
especially since she was like such a socialite.
Right.
Do you know anything about her children? Like their lives?
No, I did not really get into that. I did not really look into the children's lives.
Hopefully they didn't learn any of that behavior.
Exactly.
Let's do some math real quick. The fire was 1834. She had kids starting in 1808.
Correct.
Ish is when she had kids. So yeah, her kids were all they were grown up.
Yeah, they were all,
okay. They were grown up when all this was going on, when the fire happened. So like, I get why she's still talked about today. Mm-hmm. Plus the house. Like, what is it? You've been on the tour. Mm-hmm. What do they talk about? How do they portray her on the tour? Oh, it's a paid tour, right?
Tour, right.
Where does the money go?
To the tour company.
The tour company?
Right. Yeah.
It'd be nice if they did something like a foundation or, you know.
Right. No, it goes to the tour company. But, okay. I mean, the tour company, you know, that's what they do. They embellish stories. She's made out to be an absolute monster, which, you know, to be fair, she was definitely a monster.
She was a monster. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Right. By a textbook definition, she really is a serial killer.
Yeah. Right? She is a serial killer. Yes.
But not in the traditional sense that we would think. That's where the psychology in me comes out. It's like, does she feel justified? This is a pattern behavior. It has to be pattern behavior, right? I
think that she did not consider them human. And so it was the way she was able to disassociate. Somehow she justified that white privilege. You know what I mean?
1,000%. So dad has enslaved people.
Yes.
Her first husband has enslaved people. Second husband definitely had enslaved people.
Yes.
She has been around this her whole life. So I can't assume that she just chose one day, I'm just going to be this heinous, ugly, vile human being towards our enslaved people. She saw the uprisings. She saw what happens when those people gather together and they go up against the plantation owners. Was there a specific catalyst? Right.
It was almost like language. You know, you're around and people speak and that's the language you speak.
Correct. It has to be something that she learned.
Yeah.
But I honestly believe that in her head, she probably felt completely justified in what she was doing.
Yeah.
Right. So she's known as one of the most notorious slave abusers in American history.
So do you have any idea how many victims there were?
The exact number is unknown. But records from the property show 12 people died at the mansion.
Right.
Right. After the fire, 7 enslaved people were found alive upstairs in the attic. Now, 2 of those people did die later on.
Yes.
Right. So you have accounts that there were so many more bodies in the backyard. There's accounts that it could have been upwards to 50 to 100 people, all sorts of things. But at least 12 to 15 people have been proven.
Okay.
That number could obviously be way, way higher. So, but here it is. She does all these heinous acts and she just takes off her Paris and gets to live out the rest
out
of
in Paris.
Right.
One of the best cities.
There's no retribution. There's no conviction. There's no trial. There's no case. There's no nothing against her.
Okay. Let's talk about the house.
So again, started off with as a person that loves architecture,
Yes.
loves history, loves all things, spooky ghost stories and stuff. This is something that we both have in common. We both love architecture, right?
Yes.
So we went and did the tour.
Spooky stories.
Yeah, and spooky stories, which works out great, right? For this podcast.
Yes, it does.
So we first did the tour in 2002 and we went back a number of years later and we took the tour again. Why not? Go back
Right.
on the tour. And for the most part, everything was the same. But at the time, Gab was like, this house that was formerly owned by Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So to me, that was kind of cool. Immediately after, okay, so the house is burned. So the structure is damaged. So it sat empty from 1834 to around 1837. I can only imagine that people walking by, they were like, ooh, that's that place where those bad
Right.
things happened to those people, right? So I could also imagine that nobody really wanted to touch it, just because of all the things that go along with it, the bad history. It's associated with a very horrible, very violent act
Right.
happening in this house. Who wants to be a part of that? So eventually the property does get rebuilt. The majority of the structure was completely burned. But some of the outside, the facade, that's the majority of what is original can be seen. So in the mid to late 1800s, some different things. So at one point, here's the other thing. There's the very tragic story, but you do like to see some sort of triumph out of the tragedy, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you see, unfortunately, some tragic act happens somewhere and like a person's murdered in this field, but then the family turns it into a park. So the house ends up becoming some really good things. Obviously better than what it was, right?
Right.
So the house becomes residential apartments. The house actually gets divided into different living units.
It becomes apartments.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that happens in the mid to late 1800s.
Okay.
And then after that, it becomes a school for girls. So it becomes that. And then later becomes a music conservatory. And then also in the mid to late 1800s, it becomes a refuge for immigrants, which I think that's kind of cool, right?
That is cool.
So for a period of time, it housed a bunch of Italian immigrants. So in the early 1900s, now it becomes basically retail space. It becomes like a business. So, furniture store, bar, things like that.
Wow.
During the 20th century, it falls to poor condition, parts of it's neglected.
Yeah.
Then after that, it gets built into private ownership. But one of the things that happens is like around this time is when people really start talking about, oh, this place is super haunted and everything.
Yeah.
It gets renovated. It becomes a private residence.
It's constructed back into a single family.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. A very massive single family
Massive
home.
single
But yeah,
family.
and now it's a single family home. Right.
Okay.
Never actually got converted to a museum or attraction. So that was on the second tour that we went on. Because at the time, I don't remember them explicitly saying that it was a private residence. But on that second tour, they said that this is a private residence and they don't allow people in. I'm like, oh, $20 a pop,
Yeah.
and just like, okay, walk around. Here's the attic. Here's upstairs. Yeah, I would give you $50. Just
Right.
I'm not going to touch anything. Just let me walk. I just want to
let me
walk
just go
inside
look at
and
it.
see. Right. Yeah. But you can go on Zillow or,
Right.
choose your favorite website. And there are pictures of the interior. It's kind of cool looking. So in 2007, Nicolas Cage actually buys it. He buys it for $3.45 million, which actually it's not a bad deal. So he bought it as an investment property. And if you follow Nick Cage's career, he didn't exactly make some of the best business dealings.
No.
He ended up losing it. He had financial difficulties. So the house goes into foreclosure in 2009. So anyways, foreclosed on. But then in 2010, now this guy, Michael Whalen, from what I understand, he is a Houston business guy.
Oh,
I think
wow.
he's an oil guy.
Okay.
He really gets the steal. In 2010, as we all probably recall, those of us that are old enough to recall, this was not a great time economically.
Right. 2010.
2010, not a great economic time. So in 2010, he buys it for $2.1 million.
I know. Think about that. Jeez. So Nicolas Cage did not get a penny back.
No, he did not. Waylon goes in and he spends a lot of money. He wants to restore it. He wants to make it period correct.
Yeah.
And he does a very good job of making it look really nice on the inside. So, but today, still privately owned. The most recent sell, it was listed for $10.3 million.
Wow. Okay.
So Waylon bought it for 2.1 in 2010.
Yeah.
He holds it for 14 years later. He listed it for 10.3. He doesn't get that, but the best estimate I could find was about 4.3 million.
We don't know who lives there.
I wouldn't want to disclose that. I wouldn't want
to live there. Ugh.
So, but I mean, again, there were so many ungodly things that happened at this house.
Right.
But it is nice to know that at some point in time, the house actually did serve a good purpose. Again, it's supposed to be one of the most haunted places in New Orleans. But there's always you can hear screams. Like, it's the French Quarter. Yeah. You can hear screams on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
I mean.
So you saw it too, but American Horror Story.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
First of all, how amazing was Kathy Bates?
Kathy Bates was amazing, and she plays Delphine. They took it to, of course, it's American Horror Story.
Right.
Like, you're just creeped out. So in the beginning, they go back in time where she's having a social event. And it looks like the daughter made a pass at one of the slaves.
Oh, okay.
And
right.
instead, so Kathy Bates took him to punish him, even though he said, I did not do anything.
Correct.
And she takes him upstairs, chains him up, and turns him into a minotaur. Just creeped me out, cuts off a bull head.
Yep.
And I mean, it just went way over the top.
Right.
But another thing, when the American Horror Story plot is actually back in the 1830s, is they do the blood on the face. And so you talked about the hairbrush with the young girl, Leah.
Right.
So it's very Elizabeth Bathory.
Exactly.
So it's just like, I think they combined her a little bit because from what I could find, there's nothing saying that she put blood on her face. Right. But the hairbrush is exactly how Elizabeth Bathory got convinced the blood was the fountain of youth for her. Right. So anyway, they go to current time. Right. And it's the coven. They're in New Orleans, the house. Someone puts together a school for witches, and there are all these girls, and it's sort of like a finishing school for witches, right? And it's in New Orleans. They go by, and one of the witches, she's able to communicate with the other world and, things like that. So she sees the tour happening and takes the tour and goes into the courtyard where they found all the bodies.
Right.
She's like, the ghost, and she's like, no, I can hear Delphine.
Right.
And points to the courtyard ground. So it turns out they go back and they talk about Marie Laveau, the man that Delphine turned into the Minotaur was her lover, was Marie Laveau's lover. So she went in and under a false pretense said, oh, I have this potion that'll make you younger. I heard you're trying to get younger. And she gives Delphine this potion, which she drinks. And she does this obviously as revenge for what she's done to her partner. The potion makes her live forever. Yeah. And she hangs her 3 daughters, because in the show she has 3 daughters. They don't talk about a son or anything. And makes her watch and then buries her alive in the courtyard. And so when the show happens in 2015, 2018 or something like that, they dig her up. Right. And she's still alive. And she's been buried that whole time. And then the head witch makes her be a servant at the coven, and she has to wait on a black witch. Yep. So that is, you like that part of it.
Poetic justice.
Yes, poetic justice.
Right.
Anyway, there's a lot more, but I just thought I loved how they tied in Marie Laveau. I love how they did a little bit of Elizabeth Bathory. And then, of course, Kathy Bates is she's an Academy Award winning actress.
I love the show, don't get me wrong, but it definitely felt like they were pulling from multiple sources. Like, let's make this even more grotesque and gruesome. Again, if you go look at the history with the lore of it, it even gets worse. Yeah. Some of the accounts of the tragedy that happened up in that attic.
Oh, it's terrible. Yeah. There's other stuff, obviously. There's a book that is called Fever Season, and it's by Barbara Hambley, and it's fictionalized story of a free black man in the South. It's the second book in a series.
Oh,
so
okay,
it's like
gotcha.
the Jack Ryans
Right,
or
right,
whatever, you know? And so he deals with her in this book. And so it's supposed to be pretty good. I have it on my to read list.
Nice.
So I'm going to jump into the astrology part.
Okay.
Normally, I just touch on the basics. Do you know anything about astrology?
Not really.
Astrology is extremely complicated if you really,
Gotcha.
really get
Right.
into it. So
I really
you know
don't.
what your sign is. And you know, like
I'm a Leo.
you're a Leo.
Right.
Yes. I always usually touch on only the basics. This one, I'm going to do a little differently because I feel like she's complex and cruel and she deserves a little bit of a deeper dive on.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a lot. So please do.
So she's born March 19th, 1787. Her son's in Pisces. We're going to talk about something called degrees. She's a late degree Pisces. And we're going to talk about how that plays and can look completely normal on the outside and be something very different underneath. Her son is in Pisces as a late degree. What does that mean, right? Each zodiac is made up of 30 degrees. Think of it like moving through the stages of that sign's energy, okay? So when you're at a late degree, around 27, 28, 29 degrees, you're at the very end of that sign. Astrologers see this as kind of an intensified energy. So it's fully developed, sometimes even pushed to an extreme. It could look like mastery or like distortion. Now, Pisces on their own of the general is an emotional, intuitive, compassionate type of sign. They're the oldest in the zodiac. But a dark side is illusion, escapism, and denial. It can get really blurry. Someone can rewrite their own narrative, justify what they're doing, and completely disconnect from what's real. Like she definitely disconnected.
I think you were just describing her perfectly.
Okay, so let's go a step further and talk about houses. Now, in astrology, houses represent where things show up in your life. So if you look at an astrology wheel, it's a circle and you've got these pie-shaped things, and those are your houses, okay? Each one rules a different part of your life. Relationships, career, identity, and importantly here, your social world and how you exist in society.
Right.
And for Delphine, we're looking at a strong Aquarius influence in the social house space.
Okay.
The 11th house energy. Aquarius is interesting, but it's social and not emotional. They know how to be around people, how to function in groups, understand the system. They can disconnect. And so what does that look like? It's someone who can smile in public, host gatherings, move through high society with ease, and still remain detached underneath. Now, another layer is the moon sign, your internal thoughts. It was in Capricorn. Capricorn moons are controlled, composed. They don't process emotion openly. They manage it. So combining all this, we have late degree Pisces sun was so heavy on distortion, illusion, and escapism. The Aquarius influence in social situations with detachment, and the Capricorn moon, which is very much a control, protect what's mine, and can shut down. So then we add one more piece, the Mars, what your action is, your aggression, and it's in Aries. And it's impulsive, it's aggressive, it doesn't hesitate. So while everything else is masking, managing, and detaching, Aries is where the behavior actually comes in. So when you put all of it together, you get someone that can disconnect from reality, doesn't emotionally process what they're doing, understands exactly how to behave in public, and still has the capacity to act in aggressive, harmful ways. And Delphine LaLaurie didn't stand out in society. She blended it in, blended into it. And because Pisces blurred the truth, Aquarius played the role, Capricorn kept it controlled, and Aries made sure the darkness became action.
That is like spot on. I mean, honestly, that sounds like everything that I read, because like you said, blending in, that you've done all these ungodly things to these people.
Right.
But by the way, I'm throwing a big old party over at the house. Why don't you come on over?
She can sleep at night just fine.
Right. And I have no issues having this big lavish dinner party and having all my friends over.
Right. And these people came to the house and there are people chained up in the attic.
Correct.
And they don't even know.
Right. Yep.
That's crazy. Well, this was great. I think we have a excellent episode here.
Yeah.
There's so much with her that's interesting. Just not just her bad behavior and what she did, but the house.
Right.
And then the fact that she just got to live out her days in Paris.
Oh, yeah.
That is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
No justice. Yeah. And she lived fairly old for that time period.
Right. Yeah. She got to go and live out the remainder of her days and just no consequences whatsoever.
With all her money, she's probably just socialiting it up in Paris.
Right. It's like, well, man, there's so many times where you're like, you just want to see a little bit of justice happen in the world.
Right.
And, you know, but if it's the commoner, you'll see it. In their time, unfortunately, the enslaved people, they saw way too much injustice.
Yeah.
But for the people that did all the bad things, nothing happens. But
nothing
again,
happens.
here we are, modern day, and it's the exact same thing. Different set of circumstances, but the end result always ends up being the same.
And I love how you pointed out, which we all know, but it's like, it's okay to own someone, but then there's a fine line.
Correct.
It's okay to marry off your 13-year-old daughter, but it wouldn't be okay for someone to abuse that 13-year-old, even as a spouse. Fine lines.
Think about like today, you know, didn't we not have somebody say, oh, well, what is the age of consent?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great song by New Order, but you know.
I mean, if you have to ask that question, then I've got a whole bunch of questions for you.
Yes. Why are you even thinking about it?
Let me look at your browser history, sir, because that is not okay.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
No, thank you. Fun. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I said it as I walked in. I felt like I've been studying for like an English midterm. I'm like, oh my goodness, this has been great. It's been a
we're
lot
chill
of fun.
And pick another lady if you ever want to come back. So Brian is in my husband Greg's band.
Rooftop Boxer.
Yes, Shout Rooftop out. Boxer. And they are all in the same scene. He knows Tracy from Tracy and the Phantom Pucks, who did Eileen Warhost.
Fantastic episode.
It was a good episode.
Y'all did a great job with that one. Yeah.
Thank you. Obviously, he knows Marcia and Chad's in your band.
Right.
And Marcia, Chad, and Greg did the music for the podcast. So I want to do an episode where more of you guys together.
Oh, do like a collab? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do like, maybe we do a big group Zoom.
That'd be fun.
Some kind of episode.
And I got to say, I know everybody comes on and say, I absolutely love the intro theme song.
Yes.
It is the biggest earworm.
It is.
I'll be walking down the hall at work and I'm just like, I'm not even going to try singing on the mic, but like I'll walk down the hall and I've got it stuck in my head all day. I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah.
It is an earworm.
They definitely killed it with it. In the best of ways though.
They killed it in the best of ways. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
And as always, I will link things in the description that we talked about.
Go check out the house. It's awesome.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
The Femme Fatal, created and hosted by Stacey Dotson, produced by Mark Williams. Music by Marcia Yingling, Chad Shank, and Greg Loicano.